So I'm going to talk about different Ukraine YouTubers or UAtubers, as I call them. Not all of them are the same. We operate very differently. And I'm going to explain that, but I'm going to explain that after I show you this little clip about Dinesh D'Souza explaining how Tucker Carlson does what he does, because this is what got me thinking about what it was. He explained this, and I said, oh, I had a little revelation. Listen.
Tucker doesn't even purport to be knowledgeable about anything. So as a result, what Tucker says is, I will develop a ventriloquist style. I have strong opinions, but I don't want to defend any of them. So I will set up a structure in which I bring in sources, often rather dubious sources, people you've never heard of. The nun with the mustache, some disgraced academic. And what I'll do is I will ask sort of leading questions that in which is embedded an answer, my answer, but framed as a question. You then will blurt out the obvious implications of the question, giving me the answer I expected, but I will pretend to be thunderstruck by it. It's an epiphany, it's a new.
Huh. Like, isn't that what Tucker Carlson does? Okay, so that led me to think, wow, okay, that's really interesting. He does this, like that's his shtick to do it like that. And then let me just finish with Candace, or what he's going to say about Candace Owen and about himself, and then I'll show you how different UAtubers operate in the way. And I'm not casting shade or throwing shade on any of them. I'm just trying to show you the differences between the different UAtubers. Listen to this about finishing about Candace and how he operates.
So this is a shtick. It's a different shtick than Candace. Candace's shtick is the Candace Intelligence Agency. I'm like the world's greatest detective. I'm the Pink Panther of my time. I'm deputizing all my viewers also to be detectives. Feed me information. We're going to crack the case. So to me, this is like an intellectual embarrassment because all my life I've been an iconoclast. I will take on ideas and I will try to dismantle them, but not in this way. My ideas are things like this.
And then he talks about how he does things differently than what they do. Okay, let's talk about this. So that got me thinking. So I popped into some AI and I said, okay, so compare Alex Jones and Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro, knowing that I was going to get a very different view of different people. Okay, Alex Jones is an apocalyptic showman, conspiracy-driven, highly emotional, improvisational, performance-oriented. Candace Jones is a culture war firebrand, focus on outrage cycles. Tucker Carlson is a populist storyteller, narrative driven. He has this mainstream influencer kind of energy, even though he's no longer on TV. And then Ben Shapiro is an ideological debater, policy oriented, fast talking, analytical. Okay, so it showed the differences between each of them. And I thought, huh, now what if I applied that to the UAtubers that are out there, right? So then I started asking those questions like, well, let's just look at, and I only chose a handful. And by the way, if you're a UAtuber and you're not on this list, there's no slight or no, it's not to slight you. It's just, I just said randomly. Okay, so I watched Dennis. In fact, Dennis Davidoff, he's the one that got me started. I was watching him religiously when the war began, like just trying to follow the news. And I thought, huh, I could do this. And I would do it differently because I don't have the same context that he has. He's Ukrainian. I'm not. So, but at any rate, so it was Dennis, and then we're looking at Tim, and then it compared me against Dennis, and then compared Jake Bro, and then compared Greg Terry, and then compared Anna from Ukraine, and then reporting from Ukraine, and Artur Rehi. And so what was interesting about this, when you get all done to it, it started to put together this chart of all these the differences between them. Now I asked AI to show me a comparison of all the creators, and it helps us understand like the differences. And some creators you'll like more than others for that reason. So Dennis Davidoff has 908,000 subscribers. He's a frontline momentum analyst. Like he'll be the first one out there saying, hey, this just happened, this kaboom here in Russia, and that, and Ukraine did this and Russia did that. His strength is tactical and OSINT. OSINT means open source information. He's focused on the front line rather than political events. He'll talk about political events sometimes, but he's more focused on the front line. He's energetic. And now I asked, have they all been involved in fundraisers? And I wasn't aware of any for Dennis or for RFU, but apparently all have been involved in fundraisers according to the AI. His audience value is show me the momentum now. Here you'll see what's happening on the front line. line. And like I said, like Dennis, I've said this before, Dennis was the one that inspired me to do this, but I was going to do it differently. Then, just like Dennis, RFU News, reporting from Ukraine, has 700,000 subscribers, but he does it differently. It's evidence-based battlefield reporter, but he makes sure that he's geolocation and accurate more than Dennis. Dennis is the first there. RFU takes a little bit more time and tries to make sure it's hyper accurate. He does map updates. He's neutral and in his tone and precise. Where Dennis is energetic and here's what's going on, and I've seen this area and that area, and this is what RFU is just saying very calmly, very patiently. Here's what's happening. Give me the confirmed map if you want that. That's RFU News. Then you go to Jake Bro. Jake Bro he has 600,000 subscribers, and I asked it to give nicknames, right? I like choose a lane for each of these and give them a nickname. Ukraine will win communicator. I think that's brilliant. That's exactly what Jake has been doing, saying, welcome back, defenders. Jake here, and telling you what's going on. He's very hopeful and very clear. He's showing you, here's a picture of what's going on so that you can kind of feel what's happening there in Ukraine. He talks about the wins that the Ukrainians are having. He talks about things that are going poorly as well, but he does it in the form of stories rather than here's the tactical movements on the ground. He's warm and positive. Fundraisers. Now, this is one area that's a little bit different. Fundraisers, they're all saying that everyone does fundraisers. I'm aware of all the fundraisers except for the first two. But Jake should have like check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark, because Jake has done he's done here 6, I think, $1 million fundraisers. And by all means, as far as I understand, he's the leader in fundraisers among the UAtubers. And then if you were to look at audience value, help me stay hopeful. If you're looking for hope, Jake Bro is going to provide that. Okay. Artur Rahe. Artur Rahe's like Jake Bro in that both of these guys are military men, but he's coming from Estonia. He's a former Estonian soldier. So he'll come with a NATO Baltic kind of perspective, European security. He's going to focus on the front lines as well as political events, and he comes across as relatively friendly and grounded. But it's different than Jake. It's coming from a European perspective. Explain why Ukraine matters to Europe. And that's really something that you get out of Artur that you don't get from Jake. Okay, Anna from Ukraine. Anna's different than all of them so far. 358,000 subscribers, human storyteller of Ukraine. I've said this before a number of times, but if I want to feel what's going on in Ukraine, I'll watch Anna. Because something about her delivery, the emotional truth that she presents, you understand how Ukrainians are processing it. She's empathetic and personal. And the summary that I gave was show me the human side, and that's what you get from Anna. Now, I wasn't doing this for a presentation until after I got the data, and I was like, wow, this would be a great video to make. I was doing it for me, just trying to compare and see who else is doing what, and just comparing what we're doing differently than each other. So here's me, Professor Gerdes, 205,000 subscribers, strategic context interpreter. I will very often say, hi, my name is Darren Gerdes. I'm just a professor. And I say that because I'm comparing myself. I'm not Jake Bro. I'm not Artur. I don't have that military background, but I'm using the tools that I have as a professor, using my analytic tools. I'm trying to provide context in the war in Ukraine. I'm very often looking at what's going on geopolitically more so than what's going on the battlefield. In my daily brief, I talk about what happened day over day on the battlefield, and with drone attacks particularly, very much focused on drone attacks. And then I'll look at more logically, here's what this means. If this is happening over here, what's going on there? So sequencing, system logic, that's what I'm looking for, is like, how do we analyze what's really happening and what's the big picture? So that's why I call my evening 3 big stories, because I'm looking for the big picture. And then demeanor, calm and professional. I'm not the same. Like Jake Bro is warm and positive. Arthur is friendly and grounded. Anna is empathetic and personal. I'm just trying to relate what's going on so that you understand and you can process this. I've had many people say, "Wow, I really appreciate how calm you are about this, and that's helped me." Great. I mean, I'm trying to explain. Here's what's happening, and then the audience value is make the war make sense. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to process. And then finally, Greg Terry. I work with Greg Terry quite a bit. Greg Terry has 148,000 subscribers. Greg Terry spent 28 years in Ukraine, actively working back and forth, doing short-term missions kind of work back and forth between the United States and Ukraine. He has a long view on Ukraine. He has expertise about Ukraine that I can't touch. 28 years, again, in Ukraine. Macro trends, he focuses on kind of big picture Ukrainian culture, he'll talk about quite a bit. Or, look, this is how the Russians think about things. So he'll bring a reflective and thoughtful view to what's going on. But he can also just as easily talk about on the ground. Hey, I was on the ground, on the road here and there, and so forth. Fundraisers, Greg and I have partnered on multiple fundraisers together. And that's the way that I do things because I don't want any money to pass through me. I wanted to go right out to whatever organization. So I've worked with him. And then his summary was show me the long-term picture. Okay, with all that, you see that we come from very different ways, whether Dennis is energetic talking about the ground or reporting from Ukraine is very neutral and precise talking about the ground, or you have Jake and Arthur and Anna that are very warm and friendly and positive and empathetic, or my demeanor, which is maybe a little bit more clinical. But all that to say, you can find a YouTuber somewhere there that is going to fit you and what you want to find. So go look these up. If any of these are new to you, please give them a shot, listen to them, hear what they have to say, listen to multiple perspectives, not just one. All right. I hope that's helpful. Tell me what you thought about what you saw here. Was that useful to you in understanding the differences? I thought at least a Tucker clip was the Dinesh D'Souza clip talking about how Tucker does things was at least very useful. But tell me what you thought in the comments below. Thank you for your time, the likes, and the subscribes. Oh, my shout out is to Kenyatta 2000, YouTube member. Thank you, Kenyatta. I really appreciate your help. And thank you for being the kind of person who cares about Ukraine.